She was also no stranger to controversy.
The Germans killed 6 million Jews. You can't fix a carburetor.
Welcome back to the network, Joan.
Joan's long exile from The Tonight Show ended in early 2014 when new host Jimmy Fallon brought her on the show.
I have a photo of you. This is you right in this same studio in 1965.
He said, God bless him, you're going to be a star.
And Johnny Carson was right. Joan Rivers' star burned brightly right up until the end. She hated an empty calendar, and when she wasn't on TV, was still performing stand-up.
I love performing. I love what the audience gives you. I'm so happy to have people I can laugh with.
Joan Rivers was the author of 12 books, memoirs, and comedy books. She won the 1990 Emmy for Outstanding Talk Show Host, and her list of shows that she did: The Tonight Show starring Johnny Carson, That Show with Joan Rivers, The Late Show starring Joan Rivers, The Joan Rivers Show, Can We Shop, Fashion Police, Joan and Melissa, Joan Knows Best. I love the way that she brought her daughter into the act at the end and transformed herself for Hebe Ellis from doing that biting, almost sort of post-vaudeville stand-up, acerbic comedy, into the reality show era with something a little bit different.
Yeah, she introduced herself, she reinvented herself in her way to a whole new group of people. This woman had been in entertainment for over 50 years, and she never got old. People who watched cable television knew all about Joan Rivers, and she was as funny there as she was anywhere.
She did this amazing guest spot on the Louis C.K. show, where Louis goes to Atlantic City and he bombs and he gets mad. He says, I'm not doing this anymore. And then he goes to watch Joan, and she's working blue and she's killing, right? And this is like a year ago, so she's standing up there looking like a corpse, but she's killing the room, and he ends up in her room, and he's like, yeah, I'm gonna quit this gig. And she's like, do you have a trust fund? What is wrong with you? And she basically slaps him around for a while. She says some really nasty things that we can't repeat on this network. And then in the end, well, if you've seen the episode, you know the final punchline is incredible. You have to watch that. It's just sort of Louis C.K. doing a 30-minute sort of tribute to Joan, sort of sitting at her knee and saying, how do you do comedy? Please tell me.
And one of the ways that she did it, she was very biting, and she didn't bite her tongue, and she never stepped back from the comments that she made. She did not want to be politically correct. She wanted to be funny, and if it meant she had to step on a couple of toes in order to get the laughs, that's exactly what she
Fearless,
did.
aggressive, mean-spirited at times, but there was always that funny that you laughed with her at the same time.
That's right. And that biting style was also part of what made her such a trailblazer. For a woman to use that sort of language, to be as dirty as she was willing to be as cutting as she was, not only was she just breaking down barriers for women in comedy, but the way that she did it was so incredible.
And in 1965, Johnny Carson figured it out, that this was a woman who could make a difference in television like no other woman could do as far as comedy was concerned. That was her big break. She shot off and launched herself into a whole different kind of career that other people have tried to follow behind her.
But that story with her and Johnny Carson is very interesting because he loved her comedically, made her the first and only permanent guest host of The Tonight Show.
For 20 years, she was on The Tonight Show.
Right, and then she gets her own show on Fox. She calls him a little bit late in his mind and let him know that I'm going to go do this thing over here, compete with you at 11:30. And he hung up the phone. He yelled at her, hung up the phone, never spoke to her again.
Yeah, it was a sad chapter, I think, for particularly Joan, because he had been so instrumental in her life in terms of the comic career that she had. But she tried to get over it, you know, even the appearance she made on Jimmy Fallon's show, basically back on the Tonight Show saying, let's bury the hatchet and let's move on from here.
Well, and she did get over it. That's what was so remarkable to me about the length and breadth of her career, succeeding in reinventing herself after all of these challenges. How does somebody do that? I can't imagine when I'm 81 being as relevant as I was at 35.
I can imagine the job. But when you're funny, really funny, you can continue just being funny. And when you are that fearless and you're willing to say anything about anybody?
Yeah.
And she
How can you
gets
be
it.
stopped?
She gets the current meme, the current
exactly.
vibe, whatever it is.
Yeah, and that again to go back to her staying current, staying on that red carpet,
That's right.
creating a place for herself where other people may have thought Joan is a has-been, she's not in the spotlight. She always put herself
Yeah.
back in the spotlight.
You know, she was so good at transforming her career because I know her from E! News, from Fashion Police, where
Exactly.
she could be so cruel, so controversial, and oftentimes she would say things that you actually thought that you could never say
wouldn't
the
dare
way
say.
that she could,
Right.
and yet
Joan
she
Rivers.
would do it, and the celebrities still loved her.
Yeah.
I mean, who has? Some did. Some obviously took it more personally, but she really is an amazing individual.
I mean, I think most people in entertainment got over her
Yeah.
making, and they'd rather her make fun of them than not be
right,
talked about
exactly.
at all.
And she made fun of herself. She was
That's
not
right.
shy about
Yeah.
talking about the numerous plastic surgeries she had and that it was something that she felt that she had to do. She knew people were talking about it. She talked right along with them.
Rahima Ellis, thank you so much. We're going to have more on the passing of comedic legend Joan Rivers at 81 years young with Jonathan Capehart, who's got a piece about her on the Washington Post right now, and People magazine as well. Stay with us.